This. Okay. All right.
So we'll ring the bells and let it have some time to settle in this space together.
Welcome, Nam and Chang. We are going to have the most lovely time now just talking about Circle, and you both are working to bring Circle in a big way to Vietnam. And we have gratitude for that and great joy. So we are now in Circle and going to have just a conversation about Circle and your experience with it, your journey with it. And let's first of all each do a brief introduction so we can introduce ourselves to the people that are going to see this video, and then just tell stories. So, and deep gratitude for each of you being here. So, and I'll just start. My name is Sarah MacDougall, and I'm a long-time Circle Way practitioner and supporter of the Circle Way. And my passion is that Circle is the way that we as humans are going to survive, because it's going to be a way that we can actually collaborate and cooperate and build and together. So, peace back.
I pick up the piece. So my name is Nam. I'm from Vietnam, currently based in Ho Chi Minh City. I'm also a circle practitioner. Also a believer in the magic of gathering in circle, the magic of being present, and even simply without words, but just being present in circles is a tremendous gift. And I'm currently working here in Vietnam as a facilitator using the Circle Way as the main process and hoping to help people, communities, and organizations here in Vietnam to gather in a more beautiful way. So with that, I pass the talking piece.
I pick up the piece. Apologize, I'm sitting outside, so you may hear children on the background and neighbors doing something. That is life. My name is Trang. I'm from Vietnam. I'm also a Circle Way practitioner. I've been doing several different things for a living in my life, including being an engineer, working for marketing agency, and eventually it all circled me back into supporting people to have meaningful conversation, people including myself, to have meaningful conversation that will take us somewhere, that will own hope for having something better for the future. And yeah, in any field that I work in, that themes always emerge as something that I value the most. So now I end up working also as a facilitator, mostly in the context of dialogue in factories. I put the piece back in the center.
All right, thank you. So very, very happy and interested to hear your story of how you got involved in Circle and your journey with it, and some of the things that excite you about Circle, some of the learnings that you have made. So just going to open up and have a joyous time of sharing story.
Yeah. I think I would just pick up the piece because it's a story that always that inspires me a lot. I think I remember the first time I think the first time I came into contact with the circle was when I read Christina Bowen's book, Story Catcher. And at first, when I was reading that book, I was like already working as a facilitator, but my approach is pretty much about like trying to move people to ask questions, to actively engage them in the process, until I read the book and I realize, oh, that sounds like something different from my facilitation practice. And when I finished reading the book, I was curious, what else does she have to offer here? And then I was looking at the list of the books that she offers, and I found the next book that immediately caught my attention, The Circle Way, Leader in Every Chair. And with my background in organization studies, I read a lot about leadership development, but I never, think or have known of this concept of participatory leadership before. For me, like always looking at leadership or leader as an influential, charismatic leader figure who influences people, but I never seen the other mental model of the people influencing each other, people together creating something that has an equal voice and an equal part in the process. And so, yeah, reading the book means that I also got introduced to the art of hosting and the overarching methodologies that has the circle as the base in there. And so I remember after I finished reading the book, I just tried it out. Just having the knowledge in my mind without having any actual experience. So I just tried with my friends, just gather my friends together and from the videos I have seen and from the text that I've read, I just try it out and see how it's like. And then after several attempts, I finally got the opportunity to attend an online training with Tennyson and Amanda. And that's when I officially like experience the spirit of the circle for the first time with people who are like experienced and nuanced in the practice. And my first impression and my first thought when I finished the first call was that this feeling is the feeling of belonging.
Mm.
And I have never experienced some things of energetics that is that intense and at the same time very healing and very connecting. And that's when I got curious, like how can I sustain this kind of energy, not only within myself, but with the relationship that I have with the people around me. And furthermore, do I see myself like using more or embodying more and more of this? And the really magical thing about that first call is that right after I finished the call, I still remember the feeling, the sensation of sitting in a circle, and that sensation like lasts for several days until like, it completely calmed itself. And so I saw myself in a vision of maybe I don't know how I'm going to go with this practice, but I just know that I see a part of myself in that practice, and I see a part of that practice in myself. And so I could see that maybe that's how things will be like. Let's just keep going with this. Let's experimenting with this and see how things will be like in the future. And yeah, and yeah, that's how things happen. And that's how I'm sitting here with, that's how I got to know Chang as well. I got to know Chang in the first part of hosting training that I attended in Vietnam. And Chang has been like attending and also like having to host the art of hosting trainees in Vietnam the years before as well. And so thanks to that, the Circle Way, I got to meet with a larger community of practitioners in Vietnam, meeting with Trang and then knowing Trang for such a long time, and then dreaming up the opportunity for more practitioners in Vietnam to talk, to meet together, and then dreaming up until the seed that got planted, like in June when we had our first The Circle Way training. So that's like the whole journey. Sorry for taking so much time just to name this long story that I always found so magical. Yeah.
Thank you, Nam. I just want to reflect back that this just embodies what our entire hope all along the way with the Circle Way journey was, that people would pick up the book, get the materials, and then just go try it. And so to have the courage and the enthusiasm to do that really stands out in what you're talking about in your story. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Sarah. I will pick up the piece. It's very interesting now to hear Nam's story, because even though we work together, we actually have never spent time listening to each other's story like this. And I realized that my journey is quite like somehow it goes in a very different direction, very different patterns, because I pick up the book. Hello, Phuong. I pick up the book very later on, after I experienced circle times and times again. I had background in software engineering. I used to work as an engineer, so very used to a very like mechanistic environment of working, in which we divide the task very strictly, and like each of us had certain tasks and things like that. And I just focused on what I needed to do. And I started working for an NGO, and in that NGO, we decided to call for a program in collaboration with a school in Amsterdam called No Mass. No Mass as a combination of the word knowledge and nomad. It's a very alternative participatory school, and that's how I first learned about facilitation. And in the first meeting with the person from the school in Amsterdam, he went to Vietnam. And in the first meeting, he asked us to sit down and have a check-in. And I resisted at first. Like, I'm busy, I have tasks to do, and I want to be on my laptop, I can take notes and so on. Why spending time like going around in circle and like talking about how we are feeling and so on? And that person, the Dutch person from Amsterdam, he insisted, it's really important to me because I really want to hear from you, and I want you to be here with us too. And I went along, although I still resisted. And like along the way of organizing the programs, I slowly got convinced, but I still didn't know that it's some sort of methodology. I thought it felt natural. Like at some point, it started feeling natural that if we started a meeting without having a check-in or ending a meeting without having a check-out, it didn't feel right. Until a few years later, there were a few members coming to join us, and they were art of hosting practitioners. So they started sharing about art of hosting. That I learned that like there's this whole school of methodologies that actually we somehow applied but wasn't aware of. So with a desire to learn more about these things, we started organizing art of hosting trainings in Vietnam in 2016, so that we ourselves could be part of the training. However, I kept passing by the circle way practice in the training without like really having a closer look at how it works, even though I experienced it so many times. I think it wasn't until like like I had an experience when I study here in Sweden. I took a program about strategic leadership towards sustainability, a master program in Sweden in 2017 and 18. And toward halfway of the program, when we were very busy with some internship work, so we were all over the place, and the whole students group had very little time to connect with each other. One of us who was having a baby, his wife was delivering a baby, and there was some difficulties, and they had to go to emergency in the hospital, and the baby couldn't breathe or something, so he had to drop everything in the on the school work to stay in the hospital with his wife and new baby for nearly a month. And it was in another city, so we couldn't visit him. Someone convened a circle at the end of every school day. We simply sat in the circle for silence for a certain amount of time to send prayers toward his family. And it doesn't matter which religion we come from, or maybe we are even atheistic. We all sat there in circle and send prayers in whatever we would like to do. And when the prayer circle ended, we had a few words if we wish to. And I felt like it was the really first time I really felt the power of gathering in circle, like really sensing it in my body. And the experience of all the previous time sitting in a circle came back to me and started making sense. And yeah, it was just how beautiful that we could reconvene there at the beginning of the end of each busy work day. And somehow the calling to support his family energetically got us together in the period of time that was really chaotic for each individual of us. And so then I came back to Vietnam after the study, and I continued to tend to the hosting community of Vietnam more. We organized a practitioner gathering in Vietnam in 2020. It was right before COVID time. It was the timing that people made a tough decision if I come or not, because COVID started emerging, but nobody knew what it was. People arrived, and toward the end of the gathering, countries started closing borders. And several times during that gathering, we had to quickly reconvene in the circle, making sense of what is happening, working with all the difficult emotions like fear, emptiness, and anger, and so on, and coming up with solutions so that everybody would feel safe and still maintaining the practice that we were building up there. And that's another time that I really felt the power of being together in circle. And so I like during COVID time, we stay at home and really missed that power. And so like a few of us, including Nam and myself, I think actually Nam called for the first conversation. We started gathering online and talking about what does it mean to practice circle? What does it mean to practice art of hosting? We, like the community in Vietnam, also organized some open space conversations to look deep into our practice when it's so limited that we to practice, like we all cannot go out and meet friends and do our facilitation work. And many things started making sense that I didn't see before when I was in conversation with other fellow practitioners, really looking deep into this experience that I had before. And that is, in a way, I was grateful for COVID to force us to slow down, because I myself was so fast, so quick into like the flow of work and so on right after I finished my study in Sweden. Yeah, so I will pause there. I think I got to where we are now. Peace back.
Thank you, Sean. That's a very powerful story. Wow. I'm so excited to hear these. and welcome, 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 Phuong. And we each have introduced ourselves, and we're recording this interview. So if you would step in and give a little introduction of who you are and how you're connected to the circle. And then we're just sharing stories of how you became involved. How did you intersect with the circle, and what has it meant to you since that happened? So.
Hello everyone, I'm Phuong, and I'm the currently a co-founder of the Healing Circle Network. It's just I don't know how to like translate the our name of our network into English. But currently, it's just Healing Circle, but um, well, I'm also the facilitator using mindfulness and some types of art-based expression methodology into like in the personal development field. And so far, I have been experiencing circle for around 3 or 4 years. Actually, the first circle I have been experiencing was in was a sangha in the Plum Village traditions. 4 years ago, I was really new to circle, and I just practiced meditation and mindfulness, and I was introduced to a sangha, a group of young people who practice mindfulness. It's called Wake Up Hanoi. And yeah, from that group, I I learned a lot about myself. About in that safe space, I had the chance to really express my difficult emotions and other health space for me to to be really who I am. I was at that moment, and I was so appreciated. I am and then Lee, another member of our group, actually from the sangha. We formed a team, and we continue we have continued to bring mindfulness and meditation and circling into like taking care of cancer patients. We have a program, 8-week program for cancer patients to help them learn about yoga and meditation. And at that moment, we figured it out more about circle. We saw the magic of circle. When we gather around, like gather and share about really deep feelings, especially the cancer patient had the chance to share about how difficult they were, why they in the process of like treatment, cancer treatment, and yeah. And then after a few months, we met in Nam in the Circle Way practitioner group. Actually, that group was set up like a year ago, and we were so happy to join that group to meet other Circle Way practitioners and learn from them. And yeah, Inam was really an inspiring person to us. He's kind of a mentor to us, and we just team up and have a lot of conversation around how to bring more circle, the circle way to Vietnam, like bring circle into every corner of Vietnam. and form a community, a strong community to support the Circle Way practitioners. And anh Nam contacted to chị Trang, and we brainstorm and form the, and also thanks to the support of the Circle Way, we can have the very first Circle Way essential course by Vietnamese. Yeah, I think that's all the long story.
Thank you so much. This is delightful. And what's rising up in me as you are telling your stories is this deep connection. It's natural. One of you said it just felt natural, that you felt at home. It's exactly the way I felt. And this was many years ago. And the first circle I sat in, I too was very resistant, hesitant, like, ooh, what is this? I didn't trust. And over a period of time in being in the circle, I realized I felt so at home and connected, a deep-rooted connection. And I feel that same way right now. We are on this square screen, and yet we're in a circle, and we're energetically connected. And I'm just so grateful for this. It is such, I'm searching for the word, nourishing, I think, is the word that comes to me at this point. I am so grateful. I'm listening to what's going on, and I'm thinking, this is a beautiful interview just right now. These stories of sharing how you came to Circle and what it means to you and how you are using it. And this is wonderful. We're the first video that we will produce and put on the Circle Way website. And I see us going in the future to have others about some of the specifics of what has been working, what you find, how you've adapted it. Excuse me. And those, but this is really lovely. So I suggest that we just do a brief checkout at this point, because we are in Circle to release this energy. And maybe something that just really sparked you or caught you in the stories that we've just shared very briefly. Okay, so whoever would like to go first, just jump in.
I can pick up the piece. They were so brief. I didn't notice that we've been sitting for 40 minutes already. What happened? It's wonderful to we didn't have a conversation before about how we share the story, but somehow Nam's story, my story, and Phuong's story really reflect on different aspects of how the community comes together, and from intellectual finding, from experience, from a longing space, and I have goosebumps. I want to maybe share the story of the last art hosting training that just concluded a day ago in Sweden here. That it happened in beautiful nature. It's wonderful, and the participants who stepped in and hosted all the check-ins and check-out and all the methodology was beautiful. They were super creative. And because the nature helped us well and the participants were so creative, they brought in body movement, music, meditation, and many different ways for grounding together. And we felt like maybe something was missing. So when we, as a hosting team, hosted the final checkout on the last day of the training, we said to each other, we never really had a very well hosted circle, just small group of circle. And so we put that on the checkout. And when I introduced the activity and I said, we've been trying so many ways to be together. And there's this one powerful way that is to just sit down in a circle, share my story, and listen to others. And we can do that now. And I see so many smiles on people's face. And when we sat down in the circle, each circle was small, 6 or 7 people. And it was really powerful in that circle, in that final day of the whole training. And it still stay in me. And I think I was convinced by the power of circle thanks to the community. Is I thought I knew so many like fancy stuff, methodologies and frameworks and theories and stuff until I joined community calls and people came and said I was part of this healing circle. I was part of this check-in, and it was so nice that I could share and like I could pick up the talking piece and other people listen to me. And I was like, so they were impressed by such simple things. And I paid attention to those simple things. And I never noticed how in my life, even before I read the books and was introduced to the circle way, I were in circles before as well. And that's how those circles led me to where I am, because when I was in those circles and felt the power of the conversations, I knew that I wanted to do something about bringing that forward, even though the wording wasn't clear for me. So a lot of things made sense thanks to being with the community. And like even I could weave a red thread about way earlier stories in my life, which I'm grateful for because I've been learning about keep reframing and reframing my own narrative. And I learned a lot from just doing that. And being part of Circle allows me to do it. And so thank you so much. I just really touched. Put the piece back.
I pick up the piece. Would like to check out with a sense of speechlessness, because I think I was listening to so much like these gold nuggets of stories and wisdoms and also powers and magic. I think for me, I have never used that much of the word magic before until sitting in a circle for so long and meeting with so many people and listening a lot, and it gave me a sense that it makes sense to use the word magic for things that we don't know how it happens, but for sure it did happen. It's just there. And whenever it happens and everyone knows it happens. And listening to Chang just now, the first sensation I have is that I recognize I have missed so much of the conversation I had with Chang when we were preparing for the circle. And just talking, like sitting down in circle, just to talk about circle is a wonderful experience, because I get to listen to how people came to the circle and how, even though we came from so many different backgrounds, we get to this one shared point in the middle, and just gathering in that one shared point just gives us a sense of aliveness. And I could sense a lot of those moments of aliveness in this brief circle we had just now. Yeah, and just want to check out the sense of trust and the sense of hope as well from all the stories that I have listened to. Trust that we just need to do simple stuff, and trust that simple practices make sense. Simple practices have to bring people together. Simple practices like listening with attention and speaking with intention and taking care of the whole. Yeah, and I think the last piece of thing I want to check out with is the more I sit deeply in a circle, the more I see community in circle. The more I see how it it's never be about only one person or about myself. It's about like everyone together and how everyone together practicing simple things can already be powerful. And that is such a great de-learning, like unlearning process for me. Yeah. So with that, I want to send gratitude to all of you, and it's such a good timing though to reflect on this as we are preparing for the next batch of like people who are coming in for the circle way training. So with that, I pass the piece to Phuong.
At this moment, I feel deeply grateful for what I have been through so far. I have learned from a lot of teachers, from Khao Thầy Thích Nhật Hạnh, and also the father sister from Sangha, and many teachers from Healing Circle Globals, and current mentors, anh Nam, chị Trang, and yeah, many teachers coming to my life to teach me something, and I think I'm a continuation of of them, both like their teachings and their energy, their spirit, and yeah, I think it's really like um, um, it's a great to it's a great opportunity for me to continue um, many teachers work, um, and bring it into our community here in Vietnam. And yeah, like I already said, we aim to bring circle to every corner of Vietnam. So every areas, like every field or industry, like healthcare or school or business, and we think that many people, if they have the chance to experience circle, they will also have like find something to bring into their daily lives and their organization too. And yeah, uh, I really feel grateful and want to say thank you to also the Circle Way, because without you, we will not have the like the batch, the course continuing to this time. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I will pick up the piece and say, I'm checking out with great joy. I feel so deeply connected to each one of you, and it gives me such hope for the future. When we live in a world filled with chaos and problems, and that we do have a way to deal with them and to be in community together, helping each other, lifting each other up. And thank you so much for sharing your stories. I hold them in my heart, and I feel privileged to be in this circle with you today.